Hello, everyone. This is episode 5 of the Best Friends podcast featuring one of my best friends. No, I'm just kidding. Madeline Claravall. Madeline, say hello.
Hi, are we best friends? We're not best.
No, we're not best
That's
friends.
misleading.
We're not best friends.
We're
We're very
friends.
close friends.
We're friends. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Madeline,
wouldn't say you're my best friend.
okay, fine. Okay. So, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi guys. My name is Madeline. Me and Nate went to high school together, so that's why I'm here. Very excited to be on the pod. I've never been on a pod, and I personally believe that we should take podcasting equipment away from men because you guys
What?
talk too much. Like every man has a podcast now, and I'm kind of sick of it, but I'll make an exception. So.
Is did you watch a previous episode?
No, like I actually have never watched one of your episodes.
Okay,
I
okay,
don't have an hour-long attention span, but I'll watch them. I'll watch them back. I'll watch this one.
okay, good. All right. Well, Madeline, my first question for you is what was your childhood like? And how was no
Was
way.
your life traumatic?
What was your childhood like? And what was growing up in Chicago like?
uh, okay, guys, life story time.
Is that too personal?
No, it's not personal. It's just a strong question to lead with. Okay.
All right, go
I
ahead.
respect it though. So, so my mom is from Indiana. My dad is from the Philippines. He grew up in the Philippines, really poor in Quezon City, which is near the capital of Manila. Oop. He came to America when he was, I think, 21 for work, and then he was actually supposed to just make money and then go back to the Philippines, but he ended up meeting my mom and getting his citizenship. So I grew up raised by them. I was the firstborn. I was born in Louisville, Kentucky, and my parents had their wedding at where they have the Kentucky Derby, to give you context. So I grew up there for 3 years. My Lola, who's my dad's mom, lived with us when she was getting her citizenship when she immigrated to America. And then we moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for my mom's job. I had a pretty happy childhood. That's like where I would consider like my childhood because I was younger when we lived in Pittsburgh. That's why we're Steelers fans.
Mhm.
Because I grew up in Pittsburgh and that's where my little sister was born. She was born when I was 6, so we have a pretty big age gap. And I feel like when I was younger, I was happy. I was a happy kid. I was a really smart kid, which also kind of made me like a lonely kid.
Mhm.
I had like my best friends growing up, like in the court that we lived in, like those were like my neighborhood best friends, but definitely like my most childhood memories are just me sitting on my living room floor playing with boxes because I didn't have a sibling yet for like the first 6 years of my life. And my parents worked a lot. My parents were big, big workers. So I'd often have a babysitter and I'd just sit in my house alone. And I also remember, like I said, I was pretty smart. I was pretty creative. I was a pretty engaged kid. I would make like shops. I would like make things and try to get my parents to come buy them, but they would never come buy them. So I would just be sitting in my shop in like the study having made a bunch of stuff. Like I would make like paper dresses and then I'd just be like, "Hi guys, come buy my paper dresses or whatever it would be." And yeah, so I was definitely like lonely a lot of my childhood because I was an only child for the first 6 years of my life. Um, I never really connected with a lot of kids super easily, but like I definitely had like my childhood best friends when we lived in Pittsburgh. My little sister was born, and so my childhood shifted very quickly from being kind of bored a lot of the time, shifted to being a maternal figure and like taking care of a baby. Because I'd like to play with her, I'd help my mom out, things like that. And then the focus also shifted away from me,
Mhm.
going from an only child to having a newborn in the house when, you're 6, you're self-sufficient. So,
Yeah.
um, it's not a complaint though. Obviously, I love my little sister and like I think growing up as the oldest daughter, especially with an age gap of that many years, helped me to be the person I am today because I wouldn't be so independent and self-sufficient because
Mhm.
I had to grow up with a lot of responsibility. So
Yeah.
for most of my young childhood, it was a lot of boredom, and then quickly I became like a responsible figure, which again, I think taught me a lot. But yeah, my sister was born, and then pretty soon after that, we moved to Chicago, Illinois, or
Mhm.
suburbs of Chicago. And that's where I did um, most of elementary school and all of middle school.
Yeah.
And when I was in Chicago, I was emo. I was so
Wait, sorry,
emo.
sorry, sorry. Where in Chicago specifically did you
Oh,
live?
actually, specifically like Joliet, Plainfield area.
Okay, okay.
So me and Nate are actually
Urban.
twins. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So I was like low key, like, okay, I hit puberty and my hormones just like, well, bam. They cooked me, or I was sad all the time. Like I just remember being
You're emo.
like like classic like middle school weird kid. I was so weird. Like I said, like I was kind of an oddball growing up just because like I was an only child for so long. I definitely, like I was in like special like preschools because I was a pretty smart kid and like just kind of lonely all the time. And then I got to middle school and I almost feel like I hadn't been properly socialized for
Really?
that. I was so weird. But it's okay because it was character development. And middle school was really hard for me. There
Hmm.
was a lot of struggles with mental health. I just moved throughout elementary school and I almost felt like I couldn't, again, like similar to my childhood, relate to much. I don't know. Growing up was hard for me sometimes. I was a happy kid, like I keep saying, but like
Good.
there were some social struggles for sure. But it all changed when I met my best friend, Emerson. I was kind of sad and I had definitely had my struggles in middle school, but I met Emerson in I think seventh grade. And like I had never met anybody who like related to me so much and was kind of weird um and talkative, and she just like got me. And I remember the first day we met was in Mrs. Adamson's social studies class where we got in trouble because we talked so much, and we had a lunch detention because we talked so much in class, and then that's when we really became friends during lunch detention, and my dad was so mad at me for getting a lunch detention. um
Doesn't even count.
but it doesn't even count.
It's not even a real
But
detention.
it's yeah, no, it's not real. But yeah, so she's like drastically changed my life. And Em, like we're still best friends like to this day. So she was a really, really, really formative part of like my childhood and my growing up experience. And then I actually moved away from her the next year because my mom got a new job. That's why all these moves ever happened growing up, is because of my mom's work. So then we moved to St. Louis, where I did all of high school. So we moved in eighth grade. I went to St. Louis. And honestly, moving away from my best friend then like taught me so much about like being long distance, which is why I think me and Graham for the podcast, Graham is my long distance boyfriend. Why me and Graham are so successful is because like I low-key have been dealing with long distance since I was like 13 years old because I moved away from like
Yeah.
really my only like true best friend.
I have a question about that because you say you met her in sixth grade.
Like
So
seventh grade, I think. Yeah.
oh, seventh grade. So what was it like having a best friend and like a relationship develop that quickly and then instantly having to kind of like leave the next year
It
after that?
was it was sad, but I don't think we would still be best friends if it weren't for that.
Mhm.
Because we had to learn to develop our relationship over a long distance.
Yeah.
And we had to learn how to be there for each other without being there for each other in person. Because when you're like 14, you think the world is gonna end. You think your life sucks. You think everything sucks. And like for me, that was definitely true. And so we had to just learn how to cope with each other
Mhm.
over long distances and still be best friends over long distances. So
Yeah.
it was hard for sure, but I don't think we would necessarily be who we are without that experience. But that's essentially the end of my childhood because then I moved here and I've
Hmm.
been living here for the past 6 years and I'm an adult now.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll get into that.
Oh.
I kind of relate to your childhood in a sense to where I grew up an only child as well until I was about 8 years old. Um, I can't really remember a lot from my childhood. I feel like you described in pretty great detail, but I feel like my childhood was almost like a blur for me. Like I feel like everything that I do now is obviously I feel like it stemmed from my childhood, but it just all happened so fast, and it's like I have a lot of nostalgic things that I remember. But also, when I was 8, like my sister came into the world, and I just remember being so like happy to have a sibling. And so like
Yeah, you
especially
get it because low-key, like, you get sad when you're an only child for that
yeah.
long.
But also I was like, oh well, now they're gonna start spending money on her. And I was
Bruh,
I'm like
bruh.
my concerns were so like shallow and basic. I was like, oh
No,
no.
because when my parents told me that I was having a little sister, they took me out to dinner and like I unwrapped a present that said like big sister. I thought they were gonna get me an iPad. I was so excited for that
Oh,
iPad, bro.
oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say you were mad that they were telling you that you were gonna have a sister because it
No,
wasn't.
I was kind of disappointed I didn't get an iPad though, to be honest. But yeah, so do you feel like you said your childhood was a blur? Do you feel like now is like the peak of your life, like once you've reached adulthood and independence and like become the person you are today? Do you feel like this is when like time is starting to slow and like you're making your own decisions and like this is like the best it'll be? Or do you feel like that time hasn't come yet or that time has passed? Because like for me, the reason I ask is because like I low-key feel like I peaked in my childhood, just like as who I am. Like that's not necessarily true. You know, I'm
Think
kind
you
of
peaked? You think you peaked as a person in your childhood?
yeah, like it's kind
What
of
does that
figure
mean?
of speechy,
Okay.
but like I just have the best memories when I like from when I was a child. Nothing has ever been as easy as it was when I was a child, even though like you're a dynamic person no matter what age you are. And like I've described, like I definitely had a dynamic childhood with its own struggles, but like I was also so oblivious to like the world.
Mhm.
Shoot, I have to like file taxes and stuff now. Like nothing will ever be the same. Like I have to think of grown-up things now, and like I don't know.
Yeah, no. Like I feel like I guess with your question of you asking me like what I meant by that was I think life like when I think back, it was obviously a blur because I wasn't really I wasn't really concerned about like what you were talking about, like taxes or what I want to do with my life. And I was kind of just like every day was like the same, have watch cartoons, play outside, play in the snow. But at the same time now I feel like life is moving fast too. Because I feel like I'm like filled with all these new responsibilities and sometimes I don't really look up and take time to like really appreciate where I'm at. Like
Mm-hmm.
my schedule every day is like so packed and I feel like I'm doing stuff all the time. And at like it's not really until like the weekend or like Sunday where I'm like can really appreciate like the things like God has done in my life or like everything I've been able to go through and experience. So I feel like yeah, time definitely still continues to go fast for me, but I feel like as long as I'm being present through it all, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I can kind of be more appreciative of it in a sense, if that answers your question.
That does answer my question. That's interesting.
But yeah, like I feel like um, when I moved from Plainfield to Missouri, I feel like I was moving to the country and I was not gonna like anyone.
Brother.
And it wasn't really until like high school where I really began to develop, well, I would say eighth grade until well, I really developed like some good friendships. But
Which is why you have the best friend podcast.
exactly, that's exactly why.
Yep.
But yeah, after talking about like your childhood and moving, I wanted to ask you like what is Liberty when you think of Liberty High School, what do you think of? What do you
I don't think of anything. I don't think of much. I really don't. High school was not a transformative time for me. High school was not fun for me. High school
What?
was a way to get into college. High school was just the bridge to becoming an adult and getting to move out. And
I don't think you're telling. No, I'm just kidding.
this is the truth.
Okay.
You like, I think because of in the context that you knew me, I was more joyful around friends and people I liked. So like when I was around like you and Em would come over and you know when friends would be around, especially like in the earlier years before you guys all graduated, that was like when I felt life was okay. But high school really was not fun for me. That I had a lot of struggles in high school. Um, and honestly, I'm realizing now I've talked, about childhood and like growing up was had its own struggles and so did high school.
Yeah,
Life will have its struggles. Like life is always going to have its struggles. I could say that about any point in my life, but I think I will say my chapter of my life that I'm in right now probably has the least struggles. I honestly feel like I'm finally like living out my purpose
that's
and
good.
kind of getting to see into the future a little bit and see my path.
Mhm.
And that's the first time that anything has ever been that clear in my life, being a freshman in college, yeah. So
That's
high
good.
school, I don't think of a lot when I think of Liberty High School. I think of hating my life a lot of the time. I did
Really,
not have a lot of fun going through high school.
really. I feel like it's almost like flip-flopped for me. Like
Really?
I feel like I really enjoyed my high school
Well, that's
experience.
because you messed around in high school and now you're locking in that you're an adult. It's true.
What did
Not
I
messed
mess,
around in
what did I mess
no,
around with?
not messed around in like a bad way. Like you were just some like
I
like
was
you
trying to ruin my reputation.
no, that's not what I meant. That's not guys. Whoever's watching this, Nate was not just some like jack off do whatever. But you know me, like I took like 15 AP classes. And I was not allowed to have anything below an A. And I would get up at 5:30 in the morning to go be NHS president. And I would do all these things in order to succeed and be able to go to a good college and get the best scholarship money and like
Mhm.
get into a good program, which I'm very thankful that God has given me those gifts and I'm able to do that now. But I feel like for me, that's why I'm able to be so thankful for the chapter I'm in now because I literally like killed myself for 4 years in high school and now I get to like see what life actually is. So
Yeah.
maybe it's flip-flopped a little bit because you're in neuroscience, you're in nursing, and that's hard. So I'm sure college is like
Yeah.
and you're a D1 athlete. So,
You
well,
won.
wait.
D3.
That's not D1. You know what I mean? A college athlete nonetheless.
But yeah, no, you definitely earned what you have right now. And
It's
I
not
guess
even earned. I'm not even trying to say I earned. I'm just trying to say we all have
you
different
deserve it.
chapters. Thank
But
you.
yeah.
I think it's just that's the sequence that worked out.
Hmm.
That's just what happened, and that's the
Yeah.
plan that God had for me. And it just happened to be flipped for you, like you were saying.
Yeah. I was saying like high school, it taught me great experience. It taught me like really integral, I think I pronounced that word correct,
Integral?
integral friendships. It helped me find like partly who I was. Um, it gave me a lot of good experiences. And I got to college and I kind of was on my own for the first time, had a lot of time to think about like what who I want to be, what I want to do. Because my identity, I would say, in high school was in being a basketball player, being a good person, and being a good friend, I'd say. And you kind of get to college, and it's like you have a new opportunity. You've new opportunities to like create who you want to be. You go through challenges that kind of like mold you. And I feel like God kind of just put me through like a lot of difficult times in my life to be able to find him. And I feel like I was able to find my identity for the first time in something that was not in the world. And it's a lot it's a lot that I have to be grateful for. I'm really grateful that it went like that. And yeah, but I wanted to also touch on the next thing that I wanted to ask you. And when I see you like as a person, like from an objective view, I feel like I see a very like well-rounded person. And for instance, like in high school, I think you did theater, you did well, you took AP classes. You were in an AP art history class.
I was in an AP art history class.
Um, and then
Yeah.
people can probably tell like from your Instagram, like you have a joy of traveling and fashion sense too. No,
You're pulling things out of your ass.
I'm just kidding. But
No, yeah.
I
I
think
did do a
I think
lot.
I'm selling you short, but you have many interests.
That's true.
Instead of having one primary focus, where do you like get the passion to try different things? And do you feel like these experiences have helped you realize who you are in a sense?
Yes. They have made me realize who I am by showing me who I am not. Because in high school, you're right, I did a lot. And I'm
Mhm.
surprised you're viewing it as well-rounded because to me, it was all a power grab and a ploy to be the most successful so that I
Really?
could have success in the future. And it's
Mhm.
not to say I wasn't passionate or dedicated to anything I did or any extracurricular that I did because that's not true.
Mhm.
And I really enjoyed and I'm thankful for every experience that I had before I entered college. But a lot of it was primarily a resume builder. And again, not that I didn't enjoy any of these things, but what motivated me the most in high school was being successful so that I could get scholarship money and go pre-med. Um, so all of that involvement really just showed me who I was not. And that's what I'm really thankful for.
That's good.
Because I referred to before, I was like, yeah, I killed myself for 4 years in high school, which is definitely true. Like, those were really hard years for me, but I wouldn't have had it any other way because I wouldn't be who I am without that. And they have taught me who I am. And so now in college, I think I can confidently say that I actually am well-rounded in my mind. And I get how, whatever I would do in high school definitely shows a lot of various interests. But I would say now, like I was saying before, in this chapter of my life, I'm the most comfortable I've ever been. I feel like I actually truly, genuinely am the most well-rounded, um, because I'm able to do things that I'm passionate about and that improve my quality of life rather than just doing them to do them.
Mhm. I guess what is like the main things you're like interested in right now? Of course.
So that's something I like made a pact to myself with when I came to college. I said, when you go to college, Madeline, there's going to be no more of this resume building. You're not going to do anything for a resume builder. You're going to do it because you
Mhm.
want to do it. And God will give you these opportunities and it will eventually end up building you as a person and setting you up for success if that's God's plan, but no more like power grabs. So, something that I've been loving doing is going to college ministry group. That's probably like what makes my week. We have one in Columbia at Mizzou called Veritas that I go to every Tuesday. I've been loving my sorority actually, which I always thought those were stupid throughout high school, but again, I didn't see how that would benefit me, things like that. But actually being in it has shown me a lot about sociability
Mhm.
and sisterhood, as cheesy as it sounds. Um, it's something that I actually truly enjoy, and being involved with those girls is something that I actually truly enjoy over just it being a resume builder.
That's good. So, what is your major that you have and how does it relate to what you want to do after college?
Okay, so we're actually twin them because you're in neuroscience. Well, you're a nursing major. Where does the neuroscience fall into your degree?
So, the neuroscience kind of comes from me being interested in other things than nursing. I think it can be very helpful for nursing in terms of dealing with like the psychological side of like mental health and clients and patients and stuff like that. But where I actually find it the most like interesting is my experience being an athlete. And I want to like be able to be that person that can kind of connect like mental health to like an athlete's performance in a way. And I want to learn more about like the brain processes. And I think like adding a type of psychology could be interesting to that. But in a sense, like I want to be able to like work with athletes, use my background of being a college athlete, high school athlete, and eventually be able to work with them, uh, encourage them, and have like build like real relationships with people to where I could almost like coach them and help guide them. Because I know in my experience, if I had someone like that, there's probably a lot of things that could have been avoided. And I find like a passion for helping others. That's kind of like why I'm
Mhm.
interested in nursing. But I feel like that combination can go well with nursing because I could do psychology and it could probably end up being the same thing. But I think neuroscience sounds cool.
Okay, valid. Does does your university have a neuroscience major, minor, concentration? Like what is it that you're pursuing?
So nursing is my major and neuroscience is going to be my minor. And we do have a major for it, but obviously double majoring would be a lot of work and
Right.
kind of,
Especially as a nursing student, it's not really feasible.
yeah, and athlete.
Right.
So it's yeah.
Yeah. But for me actually I wanted to
Oh,
be
sorry. I love the head.
No, like I asked you because like I was gonna bounce off of you. Like don't
Okay,
like
all right, go ahead, go ahead.
no, because like for me, I wanted to go to college and be a neuroscience major, and all the other colleges I applied to had neuroscience as their major. Because I'm pre-med, but the reason I'm going into medicine is because I want to, well, we won't go into that, but the reason I want to go into medicine is essentially my dream specialty is pediatric psychiatry,
Mm,
meaning neuroscience major would be awesome. But then I got a scholarship I couldn't pass up at Mizzou. I love Mizzou. And Mizzou was one of my top options because I love it so much. Um, I love everything about it, but they don't have a neuroscience major. So, I'm taking a little roundabout way. I'm double majoring in biology and psychology. My biology major is specifically focused on human medicine, so it's like kind of for pre-med people. And then I'm getting Mizzou's neuroscience certificate. So that's where that works in because they don't have any neuroscience major or minor.
that's cool.
But yeah,
I'm surprised that they don't have a neuroscience
I
major.
was surprised too because it's a research university. I
Mhm.
don't know why they don't because they have neuroscience grad programs. I really couldn't tell you, but
Interesting. So, like, you're prepping for med school, right? What is that like? What is that like for you?
well, let me get you the timeline. So you take the MCAT, which is like the SAT, ACT of getting into med school. It gives you a score on essentially how well you can take like a medical test, like pre-med school test. Um, you take that within your junior year, sometimes right before your junior year, um, meaning that you start studying around your sophomore year. And then all of the interviews and acceptances come around your senior year, basically. So your freshman year doesn't necessarily have any testing or studying for med school. But as a pre-med student, you have to always be proactive. And I kind of had to hit the ground running. For me, that was really difficult because no one in my family is a doctor. And the first couple months of college as a pre-medical student have really shown me that students who don't have practitioners or healthcare workers in their family really have to have a different level of grit. Because, for example, I know a lot of amazing pre-med students whose parents happen to be doctors, and they kind of have more information or kind of have a little bit of a step up, which great for them, you know? You'll find a lot of people who are pre-med with parents as doctors, so it totally makes sense. But for me, I kind of had to fight tooth and nail just to like know when I should take my MCAT and what classes I need to be taking and what med school interviews are eventually going to look like and what medical schools require you to have when you apply. Things like that. So this first semester of college for me has really looked like a lot of panic because I'm like, oh, I need to be setting up this schedule. I have to make this 4-year plan. I have to make sure that I'm getting these requirements and these prereqs in, make sure that I have enough experience because aside from academics and like kind of what that outline looks like for getting into medical school when you're focusing on just classes, you also have to have extracurricular aspects. So, like, you need a certain amount of patient care hours, you need to shadow for a certain amount of hours, you need to volunteer for a certain amount of hours, you have to have leadership positions, things like that. Medical schools really like to see specific things out of pre-med students. So it was more just also kind of mapping out, well, am I going to volunteer this summer? Am I going to get a patient care job this semester? Am I going to travel abroad this semester? Like just kind of working in all the aspects because they look at you holistically to make sure that you're perfectly prepared for medical school. And if you don't start thinking about that years ahead, you're really not going to be able to fit all of your experience in, which is why a lot of pre-med students actually take a gap year and get a lot of experience in that year and then apply. I'm hoping not to have to take a gap year, so my prep for like getting into medical school so far has just looked like kind of planning ahead so that when I have to start studying for the MCAT and applying, like I'll hopefully have enough experience and classes under my belt.
It sounds like really intense
It
and
is. It is intense.
really stressful.
Yeah, it's intense. But honestly, I work really well under high stress. So I feel like if I did it if I did a major or I was set up on a pre-professional track that didn't require planning and a lot of thinking and thought, then I'd be really bored, I think.
Really.
Yeah. I
So
think
you
that's just who I am.
like the challenge of it.
I
Well,
like the challenge. I like the planning. My friends call me plan master, and if all else fails, I will be a wedding planner. Like I feel like I could just survive off of planning alone. Like I have a Google spreadsheet with a 4-year plan with every extracurricular experience I need to be achieving each semester, how many doctors I need to email for shadowing opportunities. Like it never ends. Like it never ends.
that's not boy math.
No, that's not boy math.
That's not guying it. That's definitely not what I
Definitely not.
was in here. He was like picking up his bag or something to go leave me for the rest of the night.
Bro, you don't even have a roommate for real.
I know, I live on my own, bro. It's crazy.
That's actually kind of nice.
And it's funny because we have a suite, so we have suite mates as well. And they don't even they leave every weekend. So I'm literally here every like
That's nice. That's really nice, actually.
yeah. So
Count your blessings.
I mean I'm never really in the room though.
Right, because you're so busy. It'd be nice if you were like a couch potato and did nothing. Next question.
It's me on the weekend. Um so what's it like going to a big university like Mizzou?
I love it.
What do you enjoy about it the
I
most?
love it. I love it because I toured so many small universities. I really thought I was going to go to a small liberal arts college and I was out of my mind.
Hey, don't hate on small liberal arts colleges.
Okay, here's the thing. I love football. I love game day.
Oh,
Yeah, raw football, go America. That's literally like, I love football. I love big sports. I love the vibes. I love the atmosphere. So that's why Mizzou's perfect. I also love the funding. Duh. Like I'm in a lab. Like I volunteer in a lab, a neuroscience lab on campus that I'm just an undergrad for. I help out. And the funding is insane. It's just unparalleled to something you would get at a smaller school, which doesn't matter to everybody, but for me as a pre-med student, that's really important. I need funding and I need to be able to be involved in extracurriculars like a lab. So, that's the biggest reason I chose Mizzou was just because of my path. I also needed to go cheap for undergrad because med school is so expensive. So those are like my why Mizzou reasons, but I also just I love it. You like don't have to see people you don't want to see. The
yeah.
campus is gorgeous and it's big, so you never feel claustrophobic or like you're getting tired of the campus.
Mhm.
There's always more to see, there's always more to do. Just again, the funding, like our rec center is so nice. I never used to like work out in high school. I never had the time. But now like I think I'm a pretty active person because like we are really blessed with a lot of great facilities. So I try not to take that for granted. So I don't know. I love it. I actually really love it. I love the energy and like being at a big SEC school, even though we're not that good this year, but yeah.
You guys aren't good?
Football, we're not fire. We're really not fire. I also love the big class sizes. People hate on that. People are like, oh, like your professor doesn't even know your name. I hope he doesn't, bruh. I barely know my professors' names. I love just getting to sit down in a big lecture hall. I don't have to talk to anybody if I don't want to. I can just sit and take my notes and leave 45 minutes later without having said a word, just with new knowledge.
Is it intimidating like if you have to like ask a question in front of that many people?
I'm gonna be honest, like I usually don't have to ask a question.
Or like do people ask questions pretty frequently?
Yeah, like if you, it's totally chill to just raise your hand and ask a question. But for me, if I ever have a question, I'll usually just turn to the person next to me and whisper, like, hey, like, do you know what he just said?
Yeah, I don't know so do you sit in a different seat every time?
I usually sit in the same general vicinity just because, like, I'm pretty partial to, like, the right side of the room, third row. But that's just me.
I'm pretty partial to the right side of the room.
I am. I love the right side of the room, third row. You're right by the professor. You can see the whiteboard, but you're not in the middle of a lecture hall. It's great.
That's really awesome.
Every other right side of the room, third row, stand up.
Oh, oh, imagine.
How big are your classes?
It depends. There's some classes will have like 30 people, which is probably super small to you. It's like a high school.
No, but I'm in the, so wait, hold on to interrupt you.
Mhm.
It's not that I don't have a lot of small classes. I actually have the access to all small classes because I'm in the honors college, so
Yeah.
they cap those class sizes. I just personally didn't take more than one honors course this semester, but like next year, all my classes, or I'm sorry, next semester, all my classes are going to be like 30 people. Anyway, keep going. You said 30 is like, is that your smallest, you would say?
Yeah, but like for me, it's like I have class with a lot of the same people because we're all taking the same class
Right.
at the same time. We're all nursing students. So I have about 24 nursing students that I share like the same classes with, kind of, and then it'll like the other ones will add a couple more people that are in like a different major and need that class.
And like you like them? Are they chill?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
all
Is it mostly females?
yeah.
Okay.
But I have really good male friends. I have like probably like four that are in it. So we actually have a
I
deep,
just yeah, that's a pretty decent amount of male nursing students.
but yeah, I mean, it's definitely taught me to be more conscientious of like what I say, how I present myself. Because at the end of the day, like it's not like you're around a bunch of guys, like you're around mostly women. So it's kind of it teaches you a different way of like presenting yourself. Not that the way I present myself isn't authentic. It's just like taught me to be more patient and yeah.
It's crazy what a woman will do.
Bro,
That female effect.
no.
Do you see those like Instagram reels where it's like men when they discover empathy, when they get their
Bro,
first
no,
girlfriend?
I actually haven't.
Yeah,
No,
you've had empathy. You've had empathy. I'm just kidding.
no. But I also wanted to ask you, you are in a sorority, and what is being in a sorority like? And what is that process kind of like? And what's your sorority?
I'm an Alpha Delta
Alpha
Pi at the
Delta.
University of Missouri.
Okay.
This is our hand symbol. Because yes. Because our gem is the diamond. Um I honestly didn't think I was gonna go through recruitment
But it-
because because I never really saw the value of being in a sorority, but the main reason that I decided to was because I talked to an older like mentor of mine, a woman that I know who's in medical school right now, who actually graduated from Mizzou a couple years ago. and she was in a sorority, and she said, "Yeah, I actually met like my best friends in it. I found study buddies. I found a lot of connections that helped me get into med school. It offered a lot of leadership positions, scholarship money, social opportunities as well. And I'd never thought of it that way. I kind of just thought it was girls who like to party, which sure, like there are a
Yeah.
lot of girls who like to party, but like that's not for me the main reason. I was mainly interested in doing philanthropy through a sorority. And that's one of the main reasons I chose 80 Pi when I was going through recruitment because their philanthropy is the Ronald McDonald House Charities, which helps families who have kids in the hospital, which obviously kind of speaks to me as a pre-med student. And actually, since being an 80 Pi, I applied to be an individual volunteer, like on my own time for them. So that kind of just goes to show like how much of an impact that can make. Because even in just the first semester, it's granted me an opportunity to help in my community. So,
That's great.
um, yeah, it's definitely been really eye-opening because you realize like how many girls are so smart and so accomplished, but also so kind,
Mhm.
and are like actual sisters to you. Like you call them sisters, but they really act like sisters. And like I just didn't know that there were so many kind women in the world,
Mhm.
like right in your own community. Because kind of like we touched on before, I wasn't a friend group girl. I never grew up with a big friend group.
Yeah.
I was definitely pretty lonely as a kid. So yeah, it's been great. I will say I'm still adjusting, and I think I'm trying to give myself grace because a lot of the girls in my sorority can make it appear as though they already have their best friends for life, which a lot of them probably do, and like that's awesome for them. But like for me, I haven't necessarily like clicked with my my group within the sorority. I have a
Mm.
lot of friends within the sorority, and like I love them all, and like I love hanging out with them and whatnot, but
Yeah.
I'm
Would you
still trying to be patient and like let God show me exactly who I'm supposed to click with.
would you say that's like some of the challenges presented in navigating a sorority is kind of like choosing the right people within it, or are there other challenges you would want to touch on?
I think honestly, you probably hit it on the nail. It's who you want to associate with because like I was saying, like you're basically just presented with like 100 girls who are for the most part awesome.
Mhm.
Um, it's just a process trying to figure out who you vibe with, who you share values with.
Mhm.
Something that's really helped me kind of narrow down the pool and pinpoint the kind of girls that I want to spend the most time with within 80 Pi is going to Faith Chat,
Mhm.
which is just a little small group that the sorority puts on for girls in my grade. So going to that has shown me, yes, 80 Pi is these amazing, accomplished, friendly girls, but also within that, they have these girls that have the same values as me and value their faith as much as I do. So that's definitely narrowed down the pool and kind of showed me like exactly who God might want me to be with. So that's definitely probably the biggest challenge I've faced is like finding like my best friends, which I still haven't done yet, but I think going to things like Faith Chat has helped me.
Cool. Would you be open to like running for like a president, vice president, or like position in the House?
The girls in my grade have already asked me if I'm running for president. I
You need
actually
that
would
aura.
I, that president aura. I would love to be president. I don't think I would because
Busy,
you
busy.
yeah, you do that your junior year, which is the year that you apply for med school. And assuming I'm still pre-med and trying to get into med school, that would be a lot.
Mhm.
However, if I get to that point and it seems manageable, maybe I'll do it. Because I just love like being able to lead people and help people like that and like see things on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested in it. I just don't know if it's in the cards for me.
You think
TBH.
you think you would gain support of a lot of the people in your house if you were to do it?
I don't know.
You probably
I, w-
would.
I would like to think so, but at the same time, there are girls who are a lot more outgoing than me because I literally have to study so much. And like I said, I'm not just like an instant, oh, I have a friend group of 20 people type person.
Yeah.
Um, there are definitely a lot of girls who have made quicker friendships who people might be more partial to. Maybe they appear more friendly or can get the more popular vote. There are definitely a lot of girls who are more outgoing than me. So I'm not really sure where support would lie.
Cool. That's that's interesting. I feel like I don't really know that much about like sorority life or like what it's like for girls, but I know at my school we don't have frats or sororities. We have these things called literary societies.
The freak?
And I'm actually interested in joining one this spring, kind of
Okay.
like for the same reasons that you did. Like I always thought like a frat or a sorority is kind of like a something I wouldn't really be interested in, but I think it does offer like kind of sense of community outside of my sport. But the main reason I'm interested is more like because of alumni purposes. I know some of the alumni that are in the one literary society that I want to be in is like very successful. And I think having kind of that community would be something that I would want to surround myself with and just do in college while I'm here. And I also think that if I were to join, I feel like it could just open a world of new experiences and possibilities for me.
That's
And
true.
yeah, I mean, I'm not really like a like party person or like I'll go out and have fun, but I'm not like the type of guy that's gonna join it for that or
Hmm.
any reason like that. Like I'll still be busy, but I would
Do
definitely,
the do the literary societies operate off of like Greek letters, like Greek life
yeah,
is?
yeah.
Like what are they called?
So the ones that we have, um, I know one of the one at my school is called Pi Pi Rho, Gamma Nu.
Okay.
Trying to think of the other ones.
Because
It's
I
like
just don't think they
Gamma,
would line up with like they're not like Panhellenic sororities or frats.
Gamma Phi Epsilon is one. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, so for the like young ladies listening or for
Bro,
the
shut up.
for the people listening that want to be in your position, um, what are like how do you personally balance like your emotions or like stress in college?
I'm not good at it. I'm not good at it. Not yet.
Yeah,
Well, I think emotions and stress are two different things for me. Stress-wise,
yeah,
I'm really good at managing stress because I operate really well under high stress. The key to being able to operate and function successfully under stress is to be a person who works well under high stress. And if you're not, then you should probably try not to be so stressed. I like like for me, like that's just who I am.
yeah,
Like my roommate said to me the other day, she was like, my friends are always talking about how you're always on the go, like you're always doing something, like you never just like go out and like
yeah,
that's low-key just how I am. I cannot remember a time in my life where I just wanted to hang around and do nothing.
yeah. Don't do what you can't handle.
Exactly. And I personally believe and very thankful for the fact that I think God gave me a really high tolerance of like what I can handle.
Mhm.
Which again I'm very thankful for because I like to stay busy. Um, and I like to be involved in my community. So that is that's how I manage stress. I will say, I'm not even gonna lie, when I first got to college, there was a 3-week period where I didn't sleep because I was so anxious because I was not adjusted to college. I didn't know like what this was. I would go to sleep with my mind like reeling about classes and like how I'm going to succeed as a pre-med student and like how to be involved in my sorority. Whatever it may be, getting adjusted to be completely transparent was really hard for me. It was like to the point where like I had to call my doctor, I had to get a sleep prescription because I would just sleep like 3 hours a night tops because I'd be so stressed all the time. So I'm not gonna act like stress is non-existent in my life. Just because I feel like I can handle a lot of stress inherently doesn't mean that I don't go through tough times. And the start of college for me was definitely a rough adjustment period. But once I got into the swing of things and I learned about what college actually was and what that college routine looked like, and I got my footing and I got adjusted after the first couple weeks, like I was good to go and I was able to continue to be involved without, losing sleep. So
Yeah.
To be honest, like that, the stress part was hard in the beginning, but I think just because of who I am, now being involved comes really easily to me. Emotion wise, I'm not good at regulating my emotions. I'm really not. I tweak. I like actually tweak all the time, like just for whatever I'm feeling, because I don't feel things lightly, and I'm not really good at controlling my emotions, and I need to get better. I try to pray, but like when I'm angry, I'm just angry, and like there's nothing I can. You can ask Graham. Graham will tell you. I cannot control my emotions. It is my like fatal flaw.
I'll make sure that I ask him. Do you do you partake in crashing out? I'm just kidding. I don't even know what that really means, but
I like low-key don't crash out. Actually, no, that's such a lie. I crash out all the time. I just don't think it looks like what a normal college person's crashing out looks like. Because when my wait, ignore that. Just cut the whole question.
all right, all right. No, you can finish it. I'll make
No,
sure
I do crash out. I crash out all the time.
fun. Yeah, that's hilarious. Um, so this kind of like goes with the other kind of inspiration piece to like the younger generation.
I feel like Martin Luther King Jr.
You're very inspirational. What advice would you give to someone in high school who is ambitious and would like to be in your position, but they might not necessarily know what to do?
Okay.
Martin Luther King.
I was thinking about this actually recently. I saw a question that was like, what advice would you give to your future self? And I think this is a very similar question. And my answer, take a break. Take a breath. It is never that serious. You need to drop one of those AP classes off your schedule, okay? You need to quit talking to people who make you feel exhausted. You need to prioritize yourself and your alone time and your happiness, and you need to hang out with friends. I didn't hang out with people in high school. I literally did not hang out with friends. I think it completely stunted my social growth because now I don't know what how to like hang out with people. That just wasn't a thing for me for the last 4 years because I was so locked in all the time. So my advice is lock out because everything's going to be okay. God has a plan. And my life is proof that God will put you in the exact position you're supposed to be in. Mizzou doesn't care how many AP credits I took. And you know what? I am a million times happier going to a big state school for the path that I'm on than I ever would have been going to a more prestigious or a smaller liberal arts school. So God will put you in a position and you need to start trusting Him and not yourself and just slow down and listen to Him and
That's,
lock out sometimes.
do you feel like you catch yourself not listening to that advice sometimes?
Literally every single day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But in my right mind, I know that that's the truth. And it could have saved me a lot of stress and overwork in high school when I was so focused on the end goal. I didn't stop and smell the roses, you know?
Yeah. So then I guess I don't know what the answer is going to be to this next question. I don't really know why I put it in, but I feel like life is like what you make it, right? And our perception and interpretation of what's around us is what allows us to be like who we are in a sense. So I'm not like trying to get deep, but do you feel like you romanticize like your life and do you like live your life in accordance to that in
I
a
definitely romanticize my life because I've learned that romanticizing my life makes me more excited
Mhm,
for living.
mhm,
I think especially in this new season and in this chapter of my life, being in college, being independent, living on your own, it allows for a lot of free thought and romanticization of your life. So
mhm.
honestly, I do a lot of that, but I don't think that it necessarily changes much. It's not really how I view, like I don't view my life as what it is when I romanticize it. I just think that when I think about what I'm gonna do that day, for example, it's a lot more cute in my head than it might be in real life because that gets me excited for it. And when I think a decade down the road, when I'm so close to being a practicing doctor, yeah, I romanticize that. And I romanticize what that's going to look like and what my life is going to be like when I get to a decade from now, because that makes me all the more excited for what I'm doing today.
That's good.
I don't think it's bad to romanticize your life. I think it can be a helpful tool when you're thinking ahead and planning and trying to work up a zest for life.
Yeah. I feel like, in a sense, I feel like if you're not trying to live the best life or romanticize your own life, you're not getting the fullest out of what you could experience with your own life.
That's good.
I feel like I want to do the best I can with what I got. And I really want to see what I can do. And I want to step outside of my comfort zone and live my life in a way to where on my last day, I'm not having any like regrets. And I'm not like, wow, I could have done this. I could have done that. I could have done this.
Yeah.
Ultimately, what's more important than all of that for me is like making sure that I remain like humble and faithful before God because ultimately he's the reason why I would have anything good in my life and he's has every right to take anything out away from me or out of my life. And I feel like as long as I convey like what I want to him and what I hope for and what I work for and try and meet him halfway for is something that can happen. I don't know where I was trying to go with that last.
No, but like I got it. Like I understood it. It was good.
But yeah, that leads me to my last question for you. And how do you maintain your faith in college? And what are the challenges that often come up?
College has been a huge blessing because it's given me a lot more opportunities to maintain my faith. And so, honestly, the easiest way that I find to do that is being involved. So, like I was touching on, I go to faith chat through my sorority, where I talk to a lot of other girls in my sorority about faith. We do lessons. I go to college ministry every week as well through my college, which is just another opportunity for me each week to worship the Lord and hear a message as well. And then obviously church on Sundays. So if I give myself 3 opportunities a week to leave and go out and stay involved in my faith, then I find it really hard to like fail at that and to stay disengaged. Because for me, it's really hard to motivate myself to sit and do a Bible study for an hour in my room. But when I go out and I do that for an hour, and I'm doing that through attending a youth group, that um, is a lot easier for me. So for me, it's all about finding what works. For a lot of people, maybe they're more self-motivated when it comes to things like that, and an hour of Bible study or prayer or worship on their own would be perfectly fine. But for me, I find it a lot easier to, I go with Janet every Tuesday to find a friend, like a great friend, and we go together. So it's all about what works for you, and just finding opportunities in your community to stay involved because I mean, if I wasn't at Mizzou, I don't think I'd have half the opportunities to be involved in my faith that I do. There are so many college ministry groups that I could pick from. So that has definitely helped me a lot, and that's why I'm really thankful for the chapter of my life that I'm in.
That's good.
Um, Struggle wise, I definitely struggle a lot. No, it's not perfect. It's really hard sometimes. I mean, even just this last week, I wasn't able to go to the Tuesday night ministry group that I go to, and just something as simple as that cooked me. I like have been disengaged and distracted all week. So falling off and falling out of that rhythm
Mhm.
It's definitely a challenge in college because, if it's like a week where I have a big exam or, I'm having a hard time in my sorority, I can let these distractions become priorities over my relationship with God.
Mhm.
And fortunately, that hasn't necessarily impacted me in the long term, which like I praise God for that because for me, there's never been a spurt of like months where I felt distant from God. But there definitely have been a spurt of days or maybe weeks where like I've been super busy and like I let those distractions become idols in my life. And so that's something that I have to deal with a lot as a college student and just getting busy. That can really be the killer for a lot of students, I feel like.
Yeah. I think when I think about my relationship with God and how it's grown the most is when I am presented with challenges that in the moment I may not know how to deal with. I think I've been able to be present enough to realize like that I need to be where my feet are and not get so overwhelmed if I miss one thing or if I don't do one of my little things in my routine or like I miss like I miss like a habit that I built for myself with my relationship in God or like say I don't pray or something. It's like it's all our first time living and I feel like we need to give ourselves grace because sorry, this thing was like running out. Because like if we're not giving ourselves grace and we're just self-destructing over every little thing that happens to us, it's like ultimately we're not going to be successful with that type of mindset. So it's like
Hmm.
I think the way I've grown most in being on my own and being an adult and taking care of myself is like be where your feet are. Don't obsess about every little thing that happens to you in the past or what you can't control. Like you can only control what you can in the moment. And even if in the moment it seems overwhelming, like in the grand scheme of things, you're going to look back at it and it's going to be okay. And yeah, I just say I've learned to be where my feet are, to be present, and that's provided me with a lot more joy in the Lord to where I can appreciate all the things he's done for me. And yeah,
Period.
yeah.
That's good. That's good.
How have you enjoyed your podcast experience?
I loved it. Shoot, I'm gonna start one of these.
So
Just
should men
kidding.
have
Just kidding. I'm just
podcasts anymore?
I'm just kidding. No, men should not have podcasts anymore.
What?
Take away podcast equipment from men.
I have a MacBook and a computer audio right now.
Brother, we need to get rid of it.
But
JK.
no, for real, thank you for joining. Thank you for taking the time out of your Sunday night. And I am very appreciative to have a very smart, um, really good friend. And I feel like I learned more about you. I feel like I hope the viewers enjoy it. And I hope that you continue to stay blessed. And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed my time and talking to you.
That's good.
Period. And shout out to Nathan James on YouTube. Give it a like, give it a subscribe. I know I did. Maybe I'll watch this episode.
Hopefully you watch your own episode.
Hopefully.